Hello, and welcome to Let's Try Now. Tony's introducing everyone. Over to you, Tony.
You are so out of order.
No, it's Tony. Tony came up with the idea of girls' night. So tonight I am Jackie, Tony.
I'm Tina.
Brenda. Tina.
Oh, okay.
Come on, introduce everyone. I think that's Zoe, innit?
ZoeFPV.
The troublemaker.
Oh wait, is that me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
How many
I'm
countries
such a
are banned from?
troublemaker.
Come on, Tony, introduce people.
MGFPV,
Hi.
which is next to Zoe, but maybe not on your screens.
No, she's next to you, and I'm really jealous. I want
wicked.
next to her.
Not this side.
Oh, this way.
That's Lexie.
That's the one. What?
Hi, Lexie.
Hi.
Lexie Logs, MaiOnHigh.
That's me. Hi.
Let's
And we've
try
got-
now.
FPV Princess, Monica.
Hi.
Hey. And then the usual
Suspects.
rat bags. Andy RC.
I don't think he's a rat bag.
Frank / hello.
Andrew / Frank.
Yeah.
I
And
can't
then
believe
Till I
he's
Fly.
made 10,000. I love that man.
Who made 10,000? What was that?
David Winterstall.
Oh, 100,000.
100,000. Yeah.
10,000. 100.
I don't know. 100,000. That's it.
Shush, Jack.
Yeah.
BSM,
I can
BSM
count.
Web are in the chat. Hello to BSM Web.
So anyway, thanks
It must be
guys
the
for
morning for them.
all coming on. And so we've got a really big group today, as you can see. Anyone that's watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, then you'll hear, I'm sure, over the course of this hour, that there's a lot of people in this chat. So, you know, we'll try and take it slow so that everyone gets to work out what's going on. Because I think, is this the largest group we've ever had on here?
No.
I think maybe we might have done one or two more.
One of the largest groups, I think.
This is quite a big group though.
Look, I'd just like to point out, guys, size doesn't matter. It's what you do with it. You know, just wanted to.
I tend to disagree, guys. I think size matters greatly.
Oh yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Well,
Love you, Zoe.
let's talk
We love
about
you.
that X size.
Yeah, it's a good.
That is a great lead, Zoe. Can we talk about X class?
So yeah, this is an X-class quad up here. Ow, I just hit myself in the head with it. It's one of the most amazing machines that I've had the actual privilege of flying and getting to work on. Over the last year, I've had ESCs developed, the first and the world's first B-rotor, the BL Heli S 80 amps. So you have active braking, D-shot, multi-shot, all the great features you come to know and expect on a mini quad, just in a much bigger size. Same thing with custom motors. These are actually the X-class Von drone motors. Right now I'm holding what's kind of called our stock class setup. You can pound full throttle on this machine and you won't have to worry about components burning out on it.
Wow.
It's kind of rated for about 70 to 80 miles an hour to kind of fall within the AMA's guidelines. The other machine I have is this one.
What flight controller is that, Zoe? What flight controllers are there?
Just an F3, a B-rotor F3, nothing
Wow.
special.
That's
Yeah, so it's
impressive.
running basically all the same kind of mini quad parts. As you can see, the pod of it is basically like a mini quad,
Yeah.
and you're just plopped it onto a much bigger frame. And it's
Are they really
pure X.
difficult? Are they really difficult to tune? Because obviously it's not what a flight controller is
Dude, like
expecting.
So Ken Liu and Colby Cortola right now, SFPV, he's the best tuner of these machines. But as a group, we've really had to kind of figure out how to tune them because the tuning is completely different on the scale of machine than a mini quad. So like you'd think like adding D would be helpful, but if you add too much D, it introduces a weird wobble. It actually causes the machine to like fly out of control. And so like for P's, for example, you have to raise the P by like twice as what you would have for a mini quad. You have to have your I's by half. You have to have your D's by half. You have to change like the filtering in the mini quad or filtering on the flight controller to kind of handle some of the vibrations that are different on this machine versus the mini quad.
So
Like the
is the idea of it being big so that it's more of a spectacle for spectators? Because
Yeah,
that's a
I mean,
really
well,
good idea.
well, my biggest issue with drone racing in general, put this down, it's heavy. My biggest problem with drone racing has been, one, mini quads are not interesting to like look at. Two, the races are really short. Like you have like a couple minutes and you're down and you have to reset everything. So from a spectator point of view, the action starts and then it ends.
Yeah.
Then you have to wait and start and end. So it's not very entertaining. And then the size of these things, like you can't visually track a mini quad very easily around a course. So it's really hard for
That's why
it's really
they
hard for
want us to get lots of LEDs. I've been in Korea for the last race, and they wanted us to have at least 24.
24.
Right.
Wow.
But even when you add like 24 LEDs onto it, it still looks like a dot when it's flying through the course.
It looked like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Well, and so that's the biggest thing is I can't talk to what I'm doing next on the X-Class projects, but we're trying to move away from the Christmas tree look because that's not the future of drone racing.
That was crazy.
You can get good at
But yeah, so
though.
yeah, well, that's the other thing is sponsors. Like to make drone racing a sponsorable sport, it has to be something that spectators like. It has to be something that the pilots enjoy flying, and also has to be something that the sponsors can actually put their advertisements on. And mini quad racing is just a little. It's hard to do that. I'm not saying you can't do that. It's just harder to do that.
I think as well, like if this was to become more mainstream, we need a way to have it so that cameras can follow. A bit like if you watch Formula One, you see onboard stuff, but you see it from the outside.
On the same note, kind of a big announcement, I guess. And we'll be seeing footage coming out of it this weekend. But X-Class is taking these drones to a traditional automotive racing track.
Wow.
So where cars and stuff have gone on. We've done tests on tracks before, and currently the X-Class quads are running faster times on car tracks than the fastest car on those tracks.
Wow.
Whoa.
So and that's kind of where it really needs to go into the spectator realm, is to put these machines on traditional tracks where they're open, where spectators can visually see what's going on. And that is really kind of the biggest thing. When spectators can visually understand what's happening and you can incorporate it into a way where it's always visually entertaining, it's really good and it works really well.
Well, we're likely to see these videos that are coming up. Will be on your channel specifically?
X-Class has its own YouTube page. I know Colby will have his own videos out. Like if you go to xclass.racing, you'll see the pilots there listed. If you follow any of those pilots, they come out with their own videos of these races and events. And this weekend, we're expecting to have the pro lineup of the local area. We're having Colby Curtola, Shane Treweek, like Humboldt 710, myself, John Glaser, like some of these guys with the fastest rigs that go above 100 miles an hour on a track that allow them to go full speed.
Wow.
So it's gonna definitely change things, and it's definitely a new direction for drone racing.
Are you tempted to try one with a 3D setup?
Yes.
Wow.
Technically it's totally feasible. And Drew from the chat says, what speeds do X-Class hit? Right now we currently have our fastest machine clocked in at 130 miles an hour.
That's
So you wouldn't want to get hit in the face by one of them, would you?
No.
Crazy.
No, and that's actually honestly my biggest concern is safety with these machines. Like we're entering into a realm where these machines are no longer small kind of toys. They are legitimate machines that have to be taken seriously. So that's a whole nother thing.
Though. The whole other thing is, how will you transport it? I mean, it's a pain in private places to transport mini quads now on the airports. How will it go with the
that is
your backpack, do you?
That is a great question.
My backpack won't freaking get it.
On that note, transporting is going to be hard. Like the arms on them right now, most of the quads are not transportable.
Yeah.
But this Christmas, I actually should say in a couple of weeks, there's going to be a frame design coming out from Team Dysonian that should allow you to more or less transport the quad. And the battery technology that I've been pushing with Tattoo, for instance, well, okay, this is a 100 watt-hour battery. Like, I have a problem taking this battery on a plane because it's so big.
because some of the
No, it's because it looks like a
airports and
bomb.
stuff, they will tell you that it's too much.
But this is true. It also does look nefarious. But
Yeah,
the current legal legislation.
There's two things that looks like. One of them I can't say because Andrew will mute me. The other thing is it looks like a bomb.
It is, yeah. But it's actually worse when you go to an airport and you have like 20 batteries in your bag, and if you have them all stacked neatly, to the TSA, it looks like you have a shielded section of your bag because their scanners cannot see anywhere through the battery. So 9 times out of 10, if you do not take your batteries out of your bag when you're going through TSA, or they're not scattered out enough, they're going to pull you aside to go through your batteries to figure out what the hell they are. So just like a battery tip, if you're going through TSA, always dump your batteries out like in their own tray, and it tends to go through a lot easier. But with that battery technology, taking these things to the airport is a big issue. Like, I've had a $200 battery confiscated from me by the TSA while trying to do that. The solution is going to a hybrid battery solution. Instead of having giant single packaged batteries, we'll have hopefully celled batteries. So you have like 4-cell variants that are under 100 watt hours. And the idea is you put them together in series to have 4-cell, 8-cell, or 12-cell. And it'll allow you to essentially disassemble the battery, take it through the airport. On top of that, if you damage part of your battery, you can replace it. So there's a lot of stuff that's trying to be done to make these giant machines portable and more usable and cheaper. A lot cheaper.
Are you running 8S on them or 10S or?
This is the 8-cell prototype. This is the highest density battery cell that Tattoo makes right now.
Right.
And it's the most dense battery that we could come up with under current battery technology.
How many minutes flight do you get?
About the same as a mini quad. like we're trying to, like, the thing with it is, like, me in particular, I've been trying to scale everything correctly. So like the amount of juice it's going to take, the amount of flight time it's going to take, the battery weight to the ratio of the frame to the ratio of the motors and everything else. Like, all of that stuff I've been trying to scale out really well. The cool thing is on the giant class frames, I've been able to reduce the amount that the frame weighs compared to the power system drastically. So right now, my machine is basically just a flying battery with electronics. Like, I have 2 pounds of motors to a ½ pound frame. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
Zoe, you know, you said like you can. I've got 2 questions. You know, you said you could swap ones out. You know, if your battery did get damaged, surely you'd need to know the charge cycles because it wouldn't be balanced. Those batteries would work together.
Yeah, well, X-Class right now, a lot of pilots are marking their batteries for how many uses they've had, because that's one of the biggest things. Is like, especially when these batteries, a lot of them that we've been using in the past, the bigger ones, they take, like, they're made for 8
Again with
stuff.
the.
No.
Sorry, I can't concentrate when you wave that in my face.
Okay, how about this? I'll hold it like that. If it makes you feel better,
Sorry.
I'll censor it for you.
I'm really trying, Zoe. You're the only one that understands me.
I don't get it. I mean, I'm too lazy for that. Like, who's marking it? Like, hey, one more time.
Look, drone enthusiastics. You know what I mean? We understand what PID stands for. Yeah, or Tony. We're still trying to teach Tony that. But, you know, also, if you're concerned about safety of people watching the race, have you thought about putting them in cages instead of putting drones in the cage?
This has actually been my biggest contention, and I'm kind of revealing a bit.
Like hamster balls, you could just stick members of public in hamster balls.
Well, this is literally
actually,
what it is. Like,
on Irish Drum Nationals, people were in the cage and drones weren't, and that was pretty creepy.
Put some black electrical tape on Tony's nipples; he'll be well into it.
But no,
Well-
that is the biggest question because, like, well, the other issue is like, what kind of cage do you need that's going to be able to withstand the hit from one of these machines going full throttle?
Hmm.
I mean, if you have like 10 pounds of weight that's traveling at 100 miles an hour, and it's spread out over 3 feet, like that. Like by the time it hits a traditional net, that thing is going to make the net and everything around it travel like a good 10 feet,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So the biggest thing is, one, designing the courses to where if these drones fail, they fail in a way that they will not fail towards the crowds. It's like every X-Class race has done it in a way to where the machines are never aimed towards people. Much like a weapon, you never aim these things towards people. It's just not cool.
Bad.
Yeah. And the idea, though, is if you're running parallel with the crowd, if the machine is failing and it's going in this direction, it's not going to just randomly go out into the crowd. And we're also flying above a strict 15-foot ceiling at some of these events. We're really trying to implement a 15-foot ceiling because at these tracks, there's at least a 15-foot fence, if not higher. So around these corners, there's a bit of protection for the audience. And the other big thing is that with traditional automotive racing, people get hurt. Like the crowd, it's almost like an acceptable risk that eventually someone's going to get a tire in the face. And that's a weird way to put it, but it's still a lot safer than traditional racing. And if it's done right, that incident where someone would get hurt by one of these machines might be once every 10 years versus once every month. You know, like comparatively to regular racing, and if it's done right and done safely, we can create a sport, an automotive sport that has all the excitement and fun of traditional automotive racing without a lot of the risk to the crowd, a lot of the personal risk to the riders and pilots and drivers, the just inherent risk of the machines themselves. Like there's a lot that drone racing in general makes super appealing that still appeals when you scale it up.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's the future. And it's definitely going to be an interesting pathway. Like the X-Class group, they're an AMA sanctioned chapter. We work with the AMA. We also work with the UAS safety team from the FAA. We take in a lot of feedback from a lot of different places to try to figure out how we can navigate safely and make it, a welcoming sport, not something that is going to freak people out, and not something that's going to, cost a lot of issues. And like they're saying, insurance is one of the biggest thing. The AMA just released commercial insurance, which would be something that could very well cover these kind of machines at tracks. And the other big thing is that drone racing, do we really need to have these things netted? If you're doing it at like a pro level and at a level that is, taking safety seriously, do these machines seriously have to be netted? Like and this is a whole different cultural thing, because netting the quads gives the public a perception that these things should not be flying with them and around them. Angelou?
On the other hand,
So I have
It's
one of the best
sometimes
female pilots in the
saving our
world, like
lives, so
inching
yeah.
down behind here. But Angelou, come here. Say hey. It's Angela from FPV Racing Mexico, everybody.
Hi, Angie.
So she's just around in town for a couple days while she's traveling around to the United States. Yeah. And yeah, so she made a pit stop here. Anyways, getting back to the cultural thing, I really think drone racing has to be something that's accepted into the wider, like, allowed to have public not have a net between it. And giant drone racing is kind of that weird shield to where if we can get this done right, it'll allow all the mini quad racing to start doing events without nets. It'll help open up the airspace for people being more comfortable with drones delivering packages. It'll kind of help push the culture of drones forward, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed.
Lexie, what were you going to say? Sorry,
I want to say that net saved my life 2 times already, so I'm all about the nets.
I love net. I'm all about the
We
nets.
can be professionals, we can do all the stuff, but sometimes ESC is burning, or someone hit us, or we hit the gate, or there was a wind, or something else happened, and then everything is going towards the crowd. So when we were just in the crowd of pilots sitting there, it actually saved us, because the quad was just going straight to us, to the group. So without a net, I wouldn't freaking go there. I mean, I saw what the quad can do and how it's almost padded all the nets. So
well, that's the thing with the tracks, is that spectators have like a nice area where they can be protected completely from the machines. Like the events we're talking about, the 15-foot like fence, there's seating below that fence that will protect them as it goes, if it's even a problem. But yeah, no, you're totally right. The safety of these things is definitely be considered. And one of the things that I want to see is the reverse net thing happening. I want to put the audience in the middle of the stadium and have these drones flying around the outside where the seating is, you know, the Coliseum style. Like that's personally my personal thing, because I think it could be a lot safer. One, because if you have the machines flying on the outer rim of the circle, if they fail, inherently they're going to go towards the outer end of the circle, not towards the crowd. And that's another thing where if you can net the crowd, it makes it easier to net the crowd because they're in the circle. You don't have to net the entire outside of the stadium. And
Good idea.
yeah, I think it's really doable, especially, and this is kind of funny, the rodeo stadiums around America, they're wood and concrete. So they have really good RF, and they have the perfect environment to race these machines around if you have the drone or the people in the center and the drones on the outside of it.
Good idea. What are you girls running at the moment? Can I ask you each individually what FC you're running? What if you guys are sponsored?
Like what size as well? We've just been talking about the X class, but I believe Monica, you've been flying like a 3-inch recently. So
yeah,
like your go-to frame and quad at the moment.
Well, on my 3-inch, I basically just have my GapRC, the MX3 version, Sparrow version, and I have the how do you call it? My FC is still the same one I've been using. The Stack from Flight Tower. I still love it because it's very, very small, and because the Sparrow is also very tight, it's actually perfect thing to put in it, because the perfect FC in my eyes.
The Flight Tower stuff is really good. I like it. I run it in my micros as well. It's really good. Well, I'd be interested to know what like your opinion is. Like have you tried Race Flight and KISS? And that goes for everyone, I guess, as well, because I think, you know, there's definitely a lot of big opinions on which is the best, and so I'd be interested to hear your guys' opinion on it.
No, I haven't tried Race Flight.
You haven't tried it, yeah.
No.
It's more of an American thing, I think. Race Flight,
yeah. I mean, in Europe, it's indeed a little bit less. I don't know why, maybe, but
yeah, I love it. I love it for my freestyle quad, not for racing. That's just me. I'm a bit weird like that. What are you running at MGFPV?
Right now I've got like new frame, IFAF Ether, and I'm running on Furious company with 20 amps Speedix.
Speedix, yeah, they're quite good.
Some old motors. My boyfriend gave me them because I've got different ones, X-Nova, but I decided to put them. So Emax 2205, 2600 kV. And actually I like it, but I was flying maybe like 2 or 3 days, and it wasn't really hard crash. So I broke the arm, so I don't know what to say about the frame actually. I was thinking will be good, but this is still prototype, so maybe they will change something. I don't know. So yeah, so this is my main quad. Another one, it's my Franken quad. Let's say it's like Franken quad. It's like
quad for the win.
Old frame. This is ZMR, I think, if I am not wrong.
No, can't be.
I like how she said ZMR and not ZMR.
Stop it! I like the way she talks.
No, I do. That's what I'm saying. ZMR. She said ZMR. That's the correct way to say it.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know what camera I have here.
Remember, that is the woman that me and Tony mutually love. So be nice to her.
Right. I am being nice. I'm saying ZMR is the right thing to say. I like it.
Me and Tony argue over her all the time. Hours of
Right,
arguing.
I might
Anyway.
be blushing, so I'm gonna.
We're rudely interrupted. Magda, what were you
That's
saying
alright,
about your
it's okay, it's
ZMR?
okay.
What do you have on it?
On this quad, I have also Emax motors, 2205, and this is, I can't remember, I think 2500 kV, but I'm not sure. And I'm running as well on the Gap RC props. I don't know, guys, have you tried them or something, Monica?
We haven't tried them,
No?
Monica.
I
Megan?
haven't tried them either.
All right. I can say for me they are good and they have really good price as well. So
What price are they?
50 by 40.
Yeah, and what
Gap
price are they?
RC. What price?
Yeah.
I think, oh my God, 10 pairs, it will be like £10 or something like that.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, they are good. Actually, they are good.
They look very similar to the Rotor Geeks props from the pitch. Yeah, the HQ props. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and some of the people was thinking this is like so props. Yeah.
I have to say, so far, all of these setups are better than anything that I've got. I'm feeling embarrassed because, yeah, those are really nice components.
Yeah, and I've got also this small quad.
Oh, look at that.
Gap RCA frame, Hummingbird, and 1103 motors, some 6 amps ESCs, Runcam, which I really love it. This is really cute camera. I think this is Emax Femto. Yeah, I think that's it.
What prop size is that? Sorry, is it 2-inch or 3-inch?
Oh my God, 2-inch.
Yeah.
But I think I can run on the bigger ones.
Yeah.
This is enough space, so yeah.
Are you running Betaflight on them?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you the kind of person who finds a nice tune, finds a nice setup and just leaves it, or if they release another this is better, do you change straight away and then retune all your quads, or do you just leave it on what you like?
I think I would just leave it like that.
Yeah, I think that's the best way.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we've gone from like the X-Class quad there, like which is huge,
massive,
and then we've got like a little 2-inch quad. I think they're all relevant though. I think on the hobby side, the smaller ones are better because they are more safe. But then for a spectator point of view, the bigger ones are better. So there's
Zoe lives and it's always hot there, so it's nice. Here we have to fly indoors with our tiny little 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's raining right now.
It's actually nice here, but it's dark.
Would you like I've got a spare quad here. If you've broken arm, would you like it?
Wait, that's mine.
No, it's not.
Really?
I found it.
And then,
that's my 5S fun quad.
Magda, Superflip in the chat was asking if you've got a whoop since your one-way whoop.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah. That was
What's a one-way whoop?
The song
when you fly it and it doesn't come back.
Over the water, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, that was over the water. That was
I saw that.
idea actually. But, yeah.
But you've been flying. Have you got another one since you've been flying it?
Yeah, I've got one from Nick Rusen. He sent me one for free from States. So I was so happy when I received the message from him. He said like he is not flying with this whoop and he don't need it. So he decided to give it to me because he was thinking I need it. So I was like, oh my God, oh my God. I really, when I received this message, I completely don't know what to say to him. I was like, really?
This is how good the
Seriously.
FPV. I think this is not just a girl thing. I think it's like an FPV thing.
Yeah, I mean, when it
Yeah.
happens
Not
to
just
you, Tony, you're just like, yeah, cheers.
Well, it's
But-
not
Yeah,
only the
yeah.
girls thing. I'm sharing my parts too with guys.
yeah. I mean, I've put out posts saying I've broke something,
Yeah.
and Mikey
the
Dread
fact to
sent
have the
me
correct
stuff.
Yeah, if you can
but
help,
appreciating it.
give it. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
What about you, Lexie? I mean, you're on your secret mission in Italy at the moment, but you're allowed to talk about what you're flying there.
What I'm flying here, all the quads are in the car. I'm sorry.
Is she a spy?
Sorry, but
Is
I'm
she
flying.
actually a spy?
I'm a
Like-
spy now. I'm on a secret mission. No, I'm
She
flying.
sounds like a spy. Like,
I'm flying on Demon RC Fury. I have twins, Demon RC Fury. This is the frame. I'm also flying on Demon RC FC, Demon RC PDB. I'm having Gemfan 2205 motors, the new ones, the 2650, the one with a violet bottom. With the Mavericks ESCs, Swift 2 camera, because I'm in love with Swift 2 camera. Also using the Unify and RXSR, since they've made an update and I can use my Lua script again.
I just
There's no
watched.
life without the Lua script, guys. I
just
also
watched
have
your
a freestyle. Which one? No, but finishing about the quads, I also have a freestyle quad with me, which is the Ego Drift Black Pearl with Kiss FC, the PDB from Matek, I think, and Tatsu motors and Ego Drift DSCs.
oh,
with Swift
Kiss
2 as
girl,
well.
Kiss girl, yes. What?
No, you can't kiss her, Jack. But
No,
yeah.
No, you can't. I'm sorry.
I know. Look, yes, Kiss. It's the way forward. None of this race shite bollocks.
Have you made that shirt yet, Jack?
No, I will. No, I spoke to. I've been a bit ill lately, but soon. He found the font for me, so I'm doing it. So happy.
Yeah, and
Oh,
guys,
man.
don't worry, the secret mission will be on YouTube. So
Good.
Where
We're
are the
looking forward
launch
to it.
codes? I want answers. Yeah.
I just watched your FPV freestyling while you were flying and walking at the same time. I can't even stand up, so I was very impressed.
I
Oh,
think
here
that's
we
my trick.
go.
I was also orbiting around myself, and you know that.
I know, it was great.
Thank you.
And I'm really jealous that because you guys have dived the chimney. Where is that chimney?
In Slovenia. If you'll type on Google tallest chimney in Europe, it will just pop up with Google Maps.
I just want to go there before it gets banned.
Also, there's a map on Rotor Riot. I may share it later. It's called the Lexie Bando map. I don't know why they called it with my name, but that was my idea, to make a map with all the spots around the world.
That's a good
with
idea.
the Bando's place for diving and all that kind of stuff. It has 2,000 views already, and I'm posting it constantly somewhere just for people to add spots around the world, which is really cool. So there is this chimney actually mapped, and it's called Lexie's Chimney.
Look out for
I
Lexie's
just
chimney.
added like 2 spots there, and all of the rest is just FPV people, because we help each other, and this is cool.
Yeah, it is amazingly big chimney, and I would love to take a trip and just dive that for one battery. would
It's
be
really
great.
awesome.
Yeah, I love to watching your video, but I was like, I want to go there.
Yeah, just type highest chimney in Europe on Google. It's really popping up with the Google Maps, so it's fine.
Right, that's where we're going. LDO day out,
We need a link to that map.
weekend
Yeah,
out, maybe.
I'll find the link to the map.
And Zoe's having conversations in the chat about people are like, I don't know how your head copes with flying 3D, voodoo magic. People are on about burning her because she's a witch.
Well,
I didn't say that,
the
and
dark
no
arts.
one said that in the chat, but I wanted to say that to you because I love nothing more than
I
starting.
don't know. I'm sure there's some people in the community right now that would love to see me burn.
Oh, yeah,
Not
sure,
only
right. We've
you.
had you on before.
Yeah, so let's go on to that. Now that it's kind of almost there, let's take the opportunity.
Someone make HPI admin.
So do you want?
Guys, I have to go again. I will be back.
No.
Wait. Sorry.
We'll be back.
Okay. Well, while Magda's going off and getting a second drink, let's give a bit of background, because Andy is innocently sitting in the corner, not knowing anything about what's going on.
I want to know what's going on. Yeah, what's the drama?
Yeah.
Okay.
More drama.
I feel like it has to start with a bit of background to leading up to my post. Sally French had asked DRL for comment about them holding their championship league in Saudi Arabia, and had asked them, a few questions about safety of female competitors, how female competitors would be, added into the whole competition. And essentially, they kind of gave her what I saw was a very BS response. But pending that, she posted a post on thedronegirl.com outlining the issues, and it really didn't get much attention or acknowledgement. It kind of got attention in the female pilot community, because there's a lot of female pilots that were kind of aware of it going on, but beyond that, in the Facebook post that Sally made on her own page, it really didn't get any kind of traction. It really didn't go anywhere. And I was sitting there basically, it was basically Monday and Tuesday before the post. I couldn't sleep. I was thinking about how, like, it was messed up that DRL was hosting the race where they were hosting it, and specifically for contractual reasons of having a lot of money to be there. I can only assume.
Seems a fair.
And the just outright, me as a queer woman, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm gay, and well, not even gay. That's a hard way to even describe it. But that being said, if I was to go to Saudi Arabia, they have laws on the book that would outright kill me. Wow. Now, if they didn't even know that, there's still laws in the book, meaning I'd have to have a male guardian. I'd have to cover myself. I'd have to subject myself to their local laws and stuff within that. And it's very different than the UAE. It's very different than Dubai and a lot of other Middle Eastern countries. Heck, even Pakistan, which a lot of people in the US consider more backwards than Saudi Arabia, is actually way more progressive and forward-facing than Saudi Arabia, where they allow women to drive vehicles, they allow women to uncover themselves, they allow anybody into their country. And in an instance, one of my best friends, Liza Miller, she took a group of female motorcyclists into Pakistan and rode around Pakistan with a bunch of badass ladies, teaching women there how to ride motorcycles. But that could happen because the local laws within Pakistan allowed that to happen. There wasn't any contradictory information. And so the issue was, and the issue is that DRL's public statement of like, we are including female competitors, we're including female staff, we're going to create this environment, is a lot different than the local laws that currently exist within Saudi Arabia, where they don't allow female competitors to play against male competitors. They segregate women in stadiums, which is new. Before, they didn't even allow women into sporting stadiums. So now women can go into stadiums, but they cannot be with their family. They have to be in their own segregated spot. It's progress, and I see that as progress.
Crazy though.
And I would really love to see DRL have female competitors in their league competing at this event. I just don't know how the local laws, coming from what I know, the local laws for that country compared to what DRL's stating in their contract are two very different things. And so they say it's not a political problem, it's not about not keeping women out of it, but when they're hosting it there and they're inherently putting it in a country that is basically a politically charged area, it becomes a political issue. And that was what kept me up on Tuesday night. I could not sleep. So I wrote out everything that I posted. I slept on it. And I slept really good that night. Because I gotten out that, like, that shitty feeling of like, this is wrong and this is bad. And I waited until the morning to decide whether or not I was going to post it. And I was like, if I don't say something now, and if I don't at least broach the subject, then this is going to continue on. Like, this is going to just concrete itself as being an okay practice within the industry. We're going to continually allow, like, you know, some of these countries to basically influence the culture of drone racing in a way that could keep women out of it. And
what
specifically
was
in this
the
instance.
response from DRL then? They just basically said, "Oh, it's
So
contractual."
I've talked with Nick on the phone recently, and Nick's response was that you don't get to know how we're going to make it work because you're not a DRL pilot. If you're a DRL pilot, we can tell you how we're going to make it safe for you, but because you're not a DRL pilot, we will not reveal that information. Which is,
But has DRL actually talked to you? I mean, talking to Nick or someone else, it's not the same as talking to the organizers. I mean, they most probably don't know.
Well, that's the point, is that this is what I think happened, is that DRL signed a contract with Saudi that was kind of open-ended. Saudi Arabia wanted the race there, or at least somebody within that country wanted it there. They petitioned to have it there. And they signed the contract that was probably like all competitors or something that was very loosely worded to allow all their competitors to come in and compete. But the actual metal to the, like the where the metal meets the road of like how that's going to happen, I don't think they have any fucking clue. If they did, if they really had an idea of how it was going to work and how it was supposed to work, they would have already told people. They already would have announced that, because that's what it came back to Nick. And this is where the conversation with Nick and I ended after going around circles. He cannot answer whether or not I would be subjected to the male guardianship system. He cannot answer whether or not I'd have to cover myself. And he cannot answer whether or not I'd be safe in a country that has laws on the book to kill, jail, and discriminate against LGBT people. Like, those are three major questions that he would not answer.
They probably didn't think about it. They were like, holy shit, women are gay?
Well, I mean, I've been here since the beginning, so it's not like it's a new thing. I mean,
yeah, but you don't ram it down people's throats.
No, because it's not something that really should be rammed down people's throats. It's just a part of who I am, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Do you know
I'm
what I
not
mean?
waving a flag actively, but in this instance, DRL did something that kind of really upset me. Like, it really sat really horribly with the way I saw the industry.
That's it. They were just like, they're probably like, well, we were surprised A, a girl would even want to go, or B, you know what I mean? It's that sort of complete overlooking.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can make it up to you in any way, I will. If you need a chaperone, a male chaperone, I will lend you Tony, because at least there's no hierarchies. Very pet-like. You know what I mean? It's like you own him. You're more looking after him.
Yeah, and Little Stellar Fox in the chat says, I don't think DRL has any intention of having female competitors, and that's why they aren't showing or sharing how they plan on working around this giant issue.
Maybe
and
they're
that's
all
actually,
gay. Maybe they're, self-loading sausage fest.
One of the GRL pilots, the DRL pilots is gay.
No, let's make that thing. Hashtag.
Gay RL.
I mean, I don't know. There's a bunch of guys. They like to hang out with each other. What are we supposed to think?
That
was a bad joke on a serious topic, but realistically, that is the crux of it. There could be, someone within the LGBT community within DRL's ranks. And one of the bigger issues is that when you become a DRL pilot, and I know this because I've gone to events where DRL pilots have not been allowed to compete at. So this is the thing. DRL pilots held it against me that I was not at events that they were at this year, because I was at other pro-level events that they were not allowed to compete in due to their contracts. On top of that, they're not able to, like, the biggest issue I have with Nick's, this is the conundrum Nick gave me. Nick said, compete in the simulator, get that spot, and then when you get that spot and get a contract with us, then we can have this discussion.
That's a terrible argument. I mean, getting to that spot takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, And you can't expect anyone to feel like, oh, that seems like a good thing to fight to get into. A group of people that don't respect me or want me there and won't put the time in to make sure I am safe from dying. Like,
that was my counter argument, and he just did not. It was a stalemate. And so basically, essentially, I had to end the conversation because I started tearing up a little bit, and there was nothing productive coming from the conversation besides us running in circles. And that's where we left it. And I more than anything want to see female pilots competing in Saudi Arabia. I think that would create the most social change, not for just the drone industry, but for their local country. Like, that would be such an amazing thing for women in that country to see a female competitor in a brand new sport of the future racing against other male competitors. Like, that would just, it would set a precedent for that country that would be so socially progressive that I have to get behind that. Like, that is like the ultimate outcome. The secondary outcome would be, if they can't make that happen, DRL, make that happen in a way where female competitors are included and don't have the same restrictions as their male competitors, i.e. covering themselves or, a male guardianship. Don't host in that country. If you can't have the event in a country where it's going to be inclusive to your competitors, just don't do it there. It's like, there's a million other places they could have had it at.
Indeed.
But only one of them was paying him that much money.
Seek and D in the chat said, how many marriage proposals do you FPV girls receive weekly?
Well, can I first of all say how many I get? 0.
No.
Unless it's from Jack, then one.
And if it's a good month, 1 monthly.
Hey.
No, sounds about right.
That's quite good.
I think I'll agree with that one.
There seems to be a growing number of people in the chat who are fighting to make Zoe some sort of political figure, including Saudi president, apparently.
Oh my God, she just set fire to everything.
Unfortunately, Saudi government's a monarchy, and there's no physical way possible for me to be able to help out in that fashion.
But yeah, just to kind of get my reading and what I've seen of the DRL posts, like their responses to it that they've published, it looks like they were making an argument for when the women are visible in other areas of the hobby, then we will change it for the DRL. We will make it a level playing field. And make those considerations.
That's not good enough. That's not good enough. We've got these guys here now, and they're just superstars. So that's just garbage, isn't it?
Yeah. So
one of the things that I've really wanted to do, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do, is I want to put together a training camp for women. I want to be able to have a place where a female pilot can come down for a month, and I can try to take her through the challenges of growing her skill. From where she's at, even if she doesn't know how to fly, to trying to take her to that pro level pilot level. And over the last year, I've had the great experience of teaching people hands-on how to fly. And I've gotten ridiculously good about pinpointing people's blocks and how to move them past where they're stuck at, figuring out how to get someone flying within the first day. My current uptick on student rate is 90%. 90% of my students are flying within the first day. I know that if we gave women the opportunity to go to a location, if they wanted to just train for a month to get up to that DRL status level that other guys are
better than us. Stop it now. Don't want this to
well, that's the point, right? I mean,
I'm so pissed off that
it's like
fly and walk at the same time.
I am.
Well, it's like what happened with snowboarding. Like snowboarding, at first there's no women in it. Yeah. Then women started getting into it, and it was kind of like their skill level wasn't at the same level as the guys, quote unquote. And then we had this explosion of women entering the scene that were badass snowboarders that really kind of took it to more of a pro level. And I feel like we're really at that stage, hopefully at that stage with drone racing, where we can go from having you know, the few women that are really holding it out there, like Lexie, me, Julie, and others, and Erin, like, oh my God, Erin, Magdalena, oh my God, you guys are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And just it's to the point of where that kind of shield will help other women feel more comfortable and confident in getting into the hobby, and like have someone not necessarily to identify with, but not have a guy that's saying ripping balls and this is blood, you know, like the machismoism that can keep some people out of the sport isn't within that. So
do you not like that, the sort of the ripping bulls masculinity
well,
style
not I think it's okay. It's just I think that's been heavily promoted more than a lot of the other stuff. I mean,
it must be
back when
worse for you, especially being like a homosexual woman as well. You must look at men just be like, oh my God, they're such children. You know,
I've routinely said this hobby is an industry is filled with a bunch of grown men playing with little toys.
well, that's what it is. I mean, that sort of leads on to something that one thing I'm interested in is sort of, is the path different for girls when it comes to getting into FPV and quadcopters than it is guys? Because my experience is sitting in my sort of dark man cave in the darkest corners of RC groups, and that's kind of like how it starts. But like for females, is it different? What is the sort of, I'm interested to know from, like, it's sort of like an open question.
Let's ask these individually.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think if I'm right,
hold on, Frank. We want Monica to answer Andy's question. How did you start? Why did you start? And
I actually got into it because I always had to go fly with my boyfriend. I mean, when he went flying. So I just got so sick of sitting there that I was like, one day, just give it to me. And he was like, no, you'll break it. And I'm like, wanna bet not? And well, I didn't break it, but that's not saying much. I didn't really fly much either, because it was I don't know, and that just bonded us together, I guess, because I wasn't anymore just frustrated to sit next to him and do nothing.
Yeah.
So I could actually share the experience with him. So I started to finally get into it.
That's mostly the problem of the guys that want to get their girlfriends to the hobby.
Yeah.
I mean, if you sit there for a couple of hours, you're like, oh God. I mean, I'm flying by myself. I know how fun it is. But if I'm about to sit there for a couple of hours and doing nothing, I'm like, oh God, no. So that's the big problem. I mean, if you want to get a girl into FPV, buy her a freaking tiny whoop or get her goggles, because watching it from the outside, this is and watching it with the goggles, it's
They also have to.
That's the main problem.
Yeah, but the thing is, they also at least have to be a little bit interested, because I think even if you would buy a tiny whoop for her, and if she doesn't care, she still wouldn't fly with it. But that's the same with guys, because it's not just girls. The same thing is with guys. If they're really not interested in it, you can't talk them into it, because you might say it's difficult to get girls into it, but I've encountered the same problems with getting guys into it. I mean, sometimes I'm talking to guys, and because I'm in university, and they're not interested at all in. I mean, I'm talking about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, sure, go fly."
How can I use that in football? No, go away.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see a girl flying and like she brings her boyfriend along, and he's just like, nah, I don't get it. He's like, nah, you can't get me into this, and she's there, you know, she's into it. That'd be great.
So if I'm right, from looking at having seen other videos on your channel, Magda, I'm fairly certain that I see plenty of other RC streams. Like, I mean, loads of us have got into FPV through like flying RC planes or driving RC cars, and I've seen both of those on your channel. Is that how you got into FPV, or was there a different route for you?
It was because my boyfriend started to fly first, and he started to fly with planes, and after a few months he saw some video. I can't remember what was that. I think that was that video in the forest when the guys was chasing each other. Like, that was that video, and after that video, he decided to buy his first drone. So I was going with him all the time, everywhere, and I was like, okay, maybe I will try as well. So he bought me a toy drone. Actually, I still have it. That was.
Yes, Jack. I told you people start with toy drones, Jack.
Yeah, seriously, but I was flying like line of sight, so it wasn't that nice for me. So I was flying maybe a few times with this, and then Philip gave me his racing drone. That was, I think, Ishin. Yeah, Ishin. It wasn't that good, but for me for first time was good. So I think I tried maybe one or twice. And then I remember I watched with Philip some schizo video. I can't remember which one exactly, but when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that was like, for me, that looks like, like everything looks so easy. But after that, when I started to do something, that was like, oh my God, how to do it, stuff like that. So I was trying to practice as well on the simulator, but I decided to not do it. I don't know why, because it wasn't that good like when I was flying in real. So so I start just like that. And I am person as well, like when I'm trying something new and something is not like going in good way, I always like give up too quickly. So it was the same with drones. I was like, oh no, I don't want to fly with this toy, so I give up. And then when I was watching through the goggles, that was much better for me. So then
it's easier.
I decided to try one more time, and that was.
I think you must have really had the passion for it, though, to go on the simulator and try all of this stuff. So I think you really must have been into it, despite you thinking that this isn't working kind of thing. But you were really trying all the different avenues there, and it seems like you ended up with an FPV as your favorite thing.
Yeah, I have to, because the weather in UK is not that good.
Oh, we know.
So sometimes I remember when I started, sometimes it was like maybe I was flying one time per month. It was like just one day, and then maybe we've got summer, it was like more often, but not that often because I'm more like full time as well. So it's not that easy to do it, but I was trying to fly as much as I can to practice as well. And I think this is it. Seriously, this is the first hobby which I have, which I am so excited when I'm going for every flight. And this is really something what I really love it. Seriously, even at work, I'm talking with my friend. She's female, of course, and I'm talking to her, and I know she totally don't understand what I'm talking about. But anyway, I'm always so excited, so I have to share with someone, not just like with my boyfriend. Yeah, I need to share with more people.
I've secretly hired you to train Vicky because she's shown slight interest.
Don't worry.
Yeah. And so you're in good hands.
You guys not living so far away, so we should meet up.
Yeah, that would be cool. Sure. Yeah, I know. The thing is, I feel bad. Like years ago, before FPV, I shouted at her for being so terrible at video games, and I didn't know that like she weren't allowed them when she was little, and I was just like, how bad? Because I just watched. I was like, you're really intelligent. You of all people will know, like, brain to thumb, should be fine.
Jack, have you seen me play video games?
No, I've seen how you build quads. You are banned.
Well, it's worse than how I build quads.
Oh, I can't. It's like my mum. She like asked me stuff on how to do stuff on computer, and I'm like, you are smarter than me. At some point, you were teaching me how to like wipe my butthole. Like, you don't need like any coaching off me.
Was this last week, Jack? Or
totally. Like,
it weren't too long ago.
Like honestly, I like the thing is, my mum, like I can say whatever to her. Like once I jokingly, like shouted, like "shut your whore mouth, mother" at a cat. And like everyone around me thought I was serious, and I just I've never wanted the ground to
Luckily-
open up and eat so much. You know, and she was being mean to me first. That's the worst part.
Oh, that's all right then, Jack. Everyone can always call their mother that if they were being.
Yeah. I know, like she was chipping me first.
Well, yeah.
So, is it in your girl's blood now? Is it like FPV for life? Does everyone love it? No,
No comment. Everyone's like, we're not gonna.
no
say
passion.
I was like, is anybody gonna say anything?
But my response to it is very complex because I've had some experiences over the last week that have made me feel very unwelcomed in the community. And also some experiences that have made me really realize that my presence in the community has done a lot of good. That being said, I don't know. I mean, I have a passion and I love flying, and I can't imagine not ever having it a part of my life.
I think
But-
the question is, legally, is it FPV for life, you know, or is something going to come along?
Well, FPV life sentence sooner or later.
I think the only thing that could come along is like me becoming an astronaut or like an actual pilot and making giant physical drones that I ride in. I mean,
That would be
Oh.
cool. You should do that. That would like be awesome.
the next step.
Yeah.
And that's how Zoe dies, in a drone that she makes.
Like,
I'm sure you'll make it
Peter
good
did
enough
it.
to get up.
Peter's still alive.
Well,
For now.
Yeah.
Peter Skipper, by the way, is the guy that was on flight test, who's building his own plane out of foam board, just for some context.
He actually flown it, hasn't he?
He flown it,
Yeah,
didn't he?
crazy,
Yeah.
crazy guy.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. You just.
No,
Oh my
no
God,
spoilers.
We're not ruining anything though, because it's still worth watching. So
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
But yes, so the podcast is gonna end here. So anyone listening on iTunes, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, any others that I've missed, you will now hear silence, and then your next episode of something else. But
so
for
militant.
everyone who's here on YouTube, either watching live in the chat, so we have Green Patches, we have HPI Guy, Richard Howard Arden, Yule, Little Stella Fox, Davy Boy, Mikey Dread, Drew R, joining on. Who else we got? Loads of people in the chat. Carlos, Mr. Thrust. We're gonna carry on, I'm sure, as we always do. So carry on. Yay.
Is everybody okay to carry on one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone wants to drop out, if you
I'm hungry and you took dinner away
Go
from
for
me.
Oh
Zoe.
no! The angry Lexie is not a good Lexie. She needs her food.
Does Lexie need
I need my
food?
I need my food, so I will leave you guys.
Andy, you've got your first proposal in the chat, by the way.
Have I? Who is it?
It's Carlos.
I accept.
Don't accept.
That was easy.
Guys, so I
Bye.
have to leave you and I have to eat
Absolutely,
because I'm hungry as
absolutely.
hell.
Go for it.
Thanks.
So it
Thanks
was
for
nice.
coming
Thank you
on.
very much.
Bon appetit.
See you,
and
Lexie.
See you,
Looking forward to
Lexie.
the
Thank
next
you.
vlog.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, I'm glad we got through an hour perfectly.
That was
easily, I
great.
think.
It was great. I really
Right,
that was
let's try and offend someone. Zoe, like, you're an idiot. There you go.
What for?
You don't realise how important and how like a
You
pillar
are.
of strength.
Yeah.
You don't realise the hole that you feel. A, you're the pioneer of 3D.
Yep.
B, you're a girl, and
And C,
B,
you don't
One
C,
and after
three.
B.
Andy was so great.
because there's not a guy doing 3D really.
Yeah.
And that's something that's always interested me. I've been secretly trying to fly 3D because the liftoff simulator, I don't know if you know, Zoe, they added the 3D feature to liftoff.
It's super easy to enable. Just push the button like 3
Yeah.
times and bam, 3 modes enabled.
I've been playing about with that, so if I ever get good enough to not crash while doing it, I'll do some videos on it. But yeah.
Well, I mean, so 3D pilots, as far as that goes, there's a few good ones out there. I mean, lately I don't think there's been as active posting videos, but like Liberimo over in Japan, he is an amazing pilot. He pulled off the first like building plant. So he flew up like a 50-story abandoned building, and he planted the 3D quad on the wall of the building using inverted thrust.
Wicked.
And he basically like let go of the building and like flew down it, and he did the first like real building dives with 3D. And he did some really cool stuff. And he was also the only other 3D pilot that was at Worlds in 2016. He had competed in, I think, South Korea's competitions, ended up going forward, and he got a spot at Drone Worlds. And it was basically me and him competing for, 3D dominance. It was kind of funny. He actually hit the mountain before I hit the mountain. And then I hit the mountain after him, because it was like, well, if he's hitting the mountain, I have to hit the mountain. Like, I can't be upmarked by another 3D pilot. I've got to do it too. So that's what started the whole mountain thing. So I did the mountain, and then Shane started doing the mountain. Like, everyone during that competition started hitting the mountain. But that's neither there. So why am I an idiot again?
Because
only just realizing how
You're not.
big a part you are in the community for supporting so many different groups.
That's what Jack meant.
you like that. I'm a big fan of like Kevin Smith, and if you listen to his like long talks and stuff, his brother was gay, and he started writing. Yeah, he started writing scripts, and like he would then hand it to his brother, and he would properly laugh, and that was his first realization that holy shit, like what I do sort of makes a difference, and I can affect people. And
his later movies since then have been really good because of it. Like, Kevin Smith has put out a lot of good work that's like, even the last movie, I think it was Red State, it was like the last horror movie. Like, some of the jokes in that were like LGBT related were fucking hysterical.
Yeah, you've got a corner, like, like that's the thing. It's like with this community, if you think back, no matter who you are, sex or age or whatever, is that you're not as alone. Do you know what I mean? Like, you make friends, like I wouldn't have Tony if I didn't have this hobby. Do you know what I mean? It's like, do you know what it's like to like be like 28 and that late in life and make a best friend? It's life changing.
The best
friend. I say the same
I'm just starting to cry.
This whole year, I haven't had like the chance of like flying with another female pilot at competitions, and this year I tried putting together like the first female team, and that part of that was inviting Angela Jax from FPV Racing Mexico, who she's in the room hearing this right now. Inviting her out to do a team race and trying to put together first girls team. It didn't go great. We couldn't find like the other female pilots I had contacted at the time, like most of them were doing other stuff, so it was hard for us to get them all in one place for one event. But we had the first actual completely co-ed, evenly matched up racing team. We went to Dover, we beat a bunch of pro pilots, and it was amazing. But the thing that I pulled from that was just me being able to travel and compete with another female pilot. Like, she's one of my best friends now because of that. Like, I connected with her on a level I was never able to connect with the other male pilots. And that's something that a lot of the male pilots just take for granted.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That is the big deal. And then you've got to look even bigger and wider and look about someone who isn't you. Do you know what I mean? You're carving a path. If you didn't do it, no one else has done it this year. No one might do it for years and years and years. And then the other side of it is that, like, one day, like, drones will be a big thing. They'll be taught in school. There'll be history. And because you've done that, they'll look back at history and they'll talk about you in, like, high schools. And, someone will probably write an essay about it. Do you know what I mean? You are a suffragette of the FPV.
I think like now as well, like female pilots are just far too rare, and I think
You're like fucking unicorns. Do you know what I mean?
So when
Like
Zoe
a
talks about
unicorn
when
podcast.
Zoe talks about flying with other female pilots, it's difficult because they're all dotted around the world, and the more female pilots that we get, the better. And I was really like disappointed to see like if a female pilot gets sponsored, then there's all this controversy. But I think that's really daft, because I think it's great when someone gets sponsored, and it only highlights that both genders can achieve great things, and I think that's a great thing. I'd love to see more of it.
Yeah, you're building bridges on the hobby, but most importantly, you're building bridges to each other as other women. Do you know what I mean? You're able to meet halfway. Do you know what it's like? Like, think about you, right? You could travel to England, and you've got a friend there. Do you know what I mean? You can travel to Paris, and there will at least be one girl pilot around the world. You're never alone, because you stood there. You've been alone when you first came in, and people have gravitated. You're someone to look up to. You're the little girl, like little girl's hero when there's like a 10-year-old girl and she's like playing with boys' toys.
All of the
and it's
girls
like,
are, definitely.
you know, it's not that thing. Do you know what I mean? It's not, you know, you're that sort of, she can do it. You know, technically you're Wonder Woman who likes flying upside down. I guess, you know.
Well, thank you for the ego boost, I guess.
Yeah, like, you know, like what you're doing matters. Like, it may feel like you're up on a uphill battle, but like different.
Well, right now it feels like it's a bit of an uphill battle, but I'm hoping that this is the downhill portion.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen stuff just in like since posting that message. Like, I knew things weren't gonna like change or happen overnight. Like, nobody changes overnight. Nobody's able to like take all that information in and really digest it. But I've seen attitudes of some of the pilots that even posted negatively in that comment thread changing. Like, they slept on it, and they kind of are realizing what I said, and that I wasn't trying to attack anybody in the community. I wasn't trying to like say guys in the community are sexist, blah blah blah. I was really just trying to point out like a real problem and the social implications of that problem and how it could affect the industry going forward. And that's something that a lot of people just kind of had to think about for a bit. And I'm hoping they'll continue to think about it. I'm hoping this will be something that at least, instead of not being in their minds, it'll be at least a little nodule that in the back of their mind they'll think about before they host like an event in Saudi Arabia or something else like that.
That actually being kind of helpful, that it's something where it's so clear cut that there's, you know, some way that it's negatively affecting women, that it then opens up that conversation a bit more to like how other ways. Because I mean, if you think about it, there's lots of ways people can be kept out of FPV, like for like financially and geographically and all that kind of thing.
Disability. I sometimes I go to places there's no toilets. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm like, I'm done.
But gender is something that is like almost by definition evenly split throughout all of those sorts of things. So the fact that we don't see so many women in the, you know, in the competitions, then that's actually quite clearly saying that even if they're not actively being discriminated against, the conditions aren't being made comfortable for everyone. Like there's an issue there that needs to be looked at.
There's certain organizers and certain competitions that I've personally avoided because of the culture that is surrounding them. And I won't speak to who or what, but you know, there's certain, you know, I noticed in the United States that there was a bit of a divide happening this year between hosting certain bigger like multi-GP events versus non-multi-GP events. And, you know, there was a lot of organizers that did not want to host those multi-GP events for various reasons. And I made a decision this year to go to mostly non-GP, multi-GP events, especially the bigger ones. So like, this is historic, doesn't even happen with multi-GP events, but almost any giant drone race, as where you have like 100+ competitors, it's almost always a clusterfuck. Just like hard clusterfuck. Very rarely are they able to get any of these larger competitions to actually scale properly and are fun for the pilots. most of the time it's just like a dick measuring contest for a lot of guys. They show up with a lot of other guys that they know and compete with on a regular basis, and they try to put down a time on a track to beat the other guys on the track. Whereas it's still, even to this day, like Ken Luce says, it's still 50% luck and 50% skill.
Yeah.
And that's not enough of a proper gap to where you can really see who's the properly skilled pilots, in my mind. Like I see some pilots, like for example on DRL, that I feel may not be to the same level as a few of the female pilots that I've seen. But that doesn't mean they're also to the same level as like Jet or Nurk or some of the other top level pilots on their show, right? So there has to be this like weird middle ground where women themselves have to like kind of push themselves up to do better, but also the community kind of has to become more welcoming, you know, like the bro-centric culture, the ripping balls, quote unquote, kind of thing. Like that's cool, but if we have just that, that's going to really kind of be unappealing to women to compete against and be a part of, because that doesn't speak to a lot of the women that love to fly. I mean, I compete differently. Like I help my competitors. I don't have the traditional like I'm at the track, fuck you, I'm here for me kind of thing. Like there's been multiple instances where I've helped my competitor beat me, which has been bad. There's been mini quad races, X-class races, freestyle competitions, all of the above, where I've been helpful to my competitors in a way where they've gone.
That's passion, though, isn't it?
It's what?
That's passion, though, isn't it? That's the passion.
It's passion. That's me being passionate about it and me trying to compete in a way that I see as helpful, inclusive, and trying to push everyone forward. Because competitors, like I want people to compete at their highest level. Like I don't want to see someone competing at like half throttle, so to speak. I want them to have every opportunity they have to do the best that they can do, because that's when the real competitive spirit's able to come out. And so that's why I get very helpful during events, like to like a detrimental point where I've helped other pilots to where I need to be working on my own stuff and I'm helping them work on their own stuff. And I like to see more of that. I like to see a lot of the competitors like drop the whole like ego. There's a lot of big egos around these really tiny machines.
I think that's
like,
just the human thing. That's not.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like the sort of Rotor Riot mentality? Is that what it is?
There's a lot of media kind of.
I mean, well, Rotor Riot was a culture. I mean, and a brand, right? Like they had money behind them and backing to kind of try to build a brand. And they tried to like launch as a TV show initially. They tried to launch as like a web brand, and then they launched their store. And initially they're trying to build it as this kind of like bad boy brand that was going to kind of sell for TV. And then they started realizing that they were more of an integral part of the community. So like a lot of the, like I think so, at least a lot of the instigating that happened, quote unquote, doing like the bad boy stuff started kind of causing ripples and waves in the community. And there's a bit of, you know, little bit of pushback from that, a little bit.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because it's that also makes it entertaining. The egos, the personalities. It's
it's a hard balance, because I've always seen Rotor Riot like a band. You know, like you can't just add in a band member that doesn't jive or doesn't know how to jam with the band, right?
Yeah.
So for Rotor Riot, especially like when they try to add someone onto their main cast, they have to basically find someone that jives really well with everybody else in their main cast. And I don't know all the specifics about what happened behind the scenes of like late, but they've definitely seemed to be trying to move the brand in a direction that's more open to everybody, that's less of the ripping balls and and more of the like,
you were on an episode, Zoe,
let's be so cool. And yeah, and it was a really cool episode. Like I loved like what we did with that and how fun it was. And that was one of those less controversial episodes. Yeah, well, that was the balloon popping, but then they did a 3D episode.
Yeah.
And I think they should focus more on the pushing the boundaries of FPV in a positive way versus pushing the boundaries in a controversial way, so to speak. Like,
I think they need a female member, and that was going to be one of my questions. Have any of you girls been approached by Rotor Riot and asked if you want to participate as being a member of Rotor Riot?
This is, I guess, the Rotor Riot frame I'm helping them with.
Ah.
So I'm not an official member. I am just trying to help them with the frame design. They've been following me for a while, and they saw the Raggy WBX frame, and they wanted to kind of.
I was waiting for Tony to make a comment.
About
yeah,
I heard about it, and I still know the full story between fossils and
I'm not
Raggy.
even going to go there tonight.
Okay, well, feel free to go there later because I'm super curious about.
So, fuck it, right? So Martin started up fucking. I don't give a fuck.
Oh God.
Two things, right? So yeah, Yodel Adams asks, ladies, what are your plans for the cold season?
Simulator and tiny hoop at home, and maybe the car park. Yeah,
staying inside.
Actually, we've got some track at home with some gates with LEDs, so it's a good idea. And also we've got some car park like 1 minute from home, so it's perfect for whoops and for races as well. But I didn't try with my 5-inch, so maybe I will try, but I am a little bit worried, like I will crash it and then I will regret. So maybe I will fly with my smaller quads. Yes, but plan for winter and practice.
Yeah, I definitely hope. Yeah, I definitely hope it will stop raining because it's really so bad. I mean, snow I can handle, but the rain is just ugh. It makes everything just
Rain
not feel
sucks.
great. Yeah. So I hope in December it starts to be a little bit better, we can go out with more training for a 3-inch and a 5-inch, because honestly I haven't even been able to fly with it much. I built it last month and I've flown it for 3 days maximum in the weekend, so it's really bad.
But
then again,
are you going to start racing at all competitively? Any of you guys?
Any of you
apart from
girls?
Zoe,
Stop with your repression. I say that. I always say man to woman. I'm like,
oh,
you're
come
right,
on, guys is a gender neutral word these days.
I agree. I actually agree with that. In Santa Cruz,
I
California,
know. I'm
it's
just
very
fucking
gender
with him.
neutral.
I'm just sorry. Anything.
Yeah, I think
Tony suffered enough. Honestly, sorry.
That's all right. Don't worry. Yeah. So I think maybe the FPV Princess, both of us want to try.
Yeah.
RTA, but if we have like full-time job and after that some work at home or something like that, and you don't have enough money, how you can do it? You know what I mean? If it will be like in the UK, okay, maybe I can try, but as well is the situation like I'm not from the UK, so I have to go for holiday to visit my family and stuff like that. So I've got like maybe 20 days to go somewhere. So
well,
really
what about the British FPV Racing Association? So that shush, Jack, shush. So in January they're going to be announcing the details, but they're going to be putting together a team for the international race, so organized by the FAI, so the sort of official World Aerosports Association. And so through the British Championships qualifications events next year, they're going to be picking their team. So if you go to, I think at the moment, I mean, all the details are still being worked out, but if you go to at least one qualifying event, then you're in with a chance of going on the national team, and then they would pay for you to go over to wherever it is in the world.
Whoa.
So that
sounds cool. Seriously,
that might be something to be keeping an eye on.
I'm pretty sure that's not in Belgium though. I mean, we have like the FIE. I don't know. Do you say it the same? Yeah, right. The FIE races in Belgium, And personally, I don't go because if you miss one, you can't participate anymore. So I feel like I can't.
Oh my god.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, I think so.
Man,
Right? Because if you miss
Oh my
one,
God.
you're not.
Heaven forbid you have a life or commitments or.
Yeah, I mean, if you miss one, and I'm not a good enough racer to get any points at all, so
Yeah, me neither.
I'd be so low anyway that I wouldn't make the qualifications anyway. So I feel like it's a battle I can't even compete. But we have a few races that are just made by other organizations, and I'm usually try to make all of those in Belgium at least.
Well, Brexit hasn't happened yet, so we'll still let you in. So on Airbnb. Right, hang on. I've got
come to us.
Yeah, we've got a little announcement, right? So little Stella Fox says, I've never met another female pilot in person, and I've tried, still not once. So I'm putting out a shout out for little Stella Fox. She is in Surf City, North Carolina, and I will warn you, little Stella Fox, that this is Let's Drone Out. So there's probably going to be about 5 guys willing to dress up as women and pretend to meet you. So whatever you do, be careful. Meet in a public place. Try and chat to them on Skype or verify that they're not catfishing you. Because even Tony will have a go for a laugh. He's still got a few crop tops kicking around somewhere, and no one wants to see that.
No, I have actually just subscribed to her.
Yeah.
Hey, don't have a go.
They're little bastards in that chat. Little.
I know,
Sorry, Andy.
It's getting mad in that chat. So, Monica, are you sponsored by anyone? Do you get any freebies sent to you at all, or anything like that?
Well, Dalprop and Foxeer is my sponsor. Yeah.
Ah, nice. Dalprop and Foxeer. That's really good.
Yeah. Well, it's basically the same. So.
What about you, MGFPV?
Yeah, actually, I am sponsored by FPV Direct, and I've got some free stuff as well from Gap RC, but this is not like sponsorship. They just sending to me this to test, something like that.
So is that because they've seen your YouTube channels or your Instagram and they've contacted you?
Yeah, I think they seen first my Instagram. Like I think adding some videos and photos with the props from them, and they then contact to me and they ask if I need some spare props. So I said, yeah, of course, why not?
Yeah.
So sometimes they sending to me some props and antennas as well. So yeah, and I really like them. They are cheap, but they are, for me, they are good.
So do you have to like make an Instagram post regarding that, or like a YouTube video? Or is it just that you're just associated with them and you get to use them?
For the first time, I think they asked me for some short video or live story or something like that, and maybe some photos. So yes, that's it, I think.
Fairly easy.
Yeah.
Do they send like?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, it's my fault. I was.
No, it's my fault.
I was just interested because, like.
I'll stop it, you two. No, you hang up. Sorry, I couldn't help.
I was just interested because I like do review videos, so I think there's a difference between reviewing a product and being sponsored, and I think when you are sponsored, you sort of get sent like a monthly care package. Is that the kind of thing that you get from being sponsored? Like every month you get props or something?
Actually, no. From the FPV Direct, I've got like, for the beginning, they give me almost like whole quad. They give me like Chameleon frame, X-Nova motors, CBS ESC, Furious Combini, and Runcam Swift 2. So yeah, so I've got like, like whole quad. And then actually nothing. And that was, because it was quite funny situation, maybe not funny. Because I was, after that, when I read something on Facebook, I was like, oh my God, because when they write on the Facebook, like they choose me to be sponsored by them. Some people from the UK write some posts like they choose me, and because of me, they just kicked the Gil, because Gil was sponsored by them. And they said like, I'm not flying, like I'm just flying like freestyle, I'm not racing. And that was like, like for me that was like, I supposed to race all the time to do something like this, or to, I don't know how to say, but
Yeah, it's like, what's wrong with
it's weird because this is not like I want to do everything. If I'm like freestyle, I will do freestyle. I want to try as well racing, but I don't have this opportunity like to go for some races because of the money or stuff like that. And that was another thing, like some people write like I'm flying on the clone frame or something like that, and I was like, okay, so if I don't have enough money to fly on, I don't know, or on Alien and on key stuff, I supposed to not flying or something like that, because
it's a tricky one, isn't it?
This is really, sometimes this is bullshit. I don't get it, those people with, if they writing something like this, and sometimes it's sad as well, but from some time I just try to that don't listen them and just
just do your thing.
Do your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the right attitude, because otherwise you'll just keep worrying about everything.
Yeah. Don't worry
David
about people.
Winterstill, everybody.
Oh, you have toothbrush.
Yes.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, David.
Oh my God, it's David Winterstill! Oh, that's me! Oh my God!
I know. MG, I'm sorry, that is my first love, David Winterstill.
I thought I was, you bastard.
No. Seek and Destroy. Who's that new girl with the beard? She looks hot.
Nice.
I know.
I would marry that one in a heartbeat.
If you're a fan of MGFPV, she made a really cute video of her cleaning her quad with a toothbrush.
Oh,
So
really?
if you ever see her
This
and
is
you're
the best
secretly
idea
a
to
fan,
clean your quad,
loads of people
And
wave
baby
toothbrushes at her.
wipes. And baby wipes as well. They are good.
That's how me and Tony
Seriously.
were like, we love this girl. He's like, have you seen this? I was like, yeah, I know. She's so adorable. And like,
Oh,
it's
thank you.
literally playlist of kittens, and then you with a toothbrush. It's exactly the same to us.
Thank you.
Where's this race you were talking about in the UK?
Oh, that was, so I'm talking about all the qualifying events for the British FPO, so BFPVRA British Championships. So go on bfpvra.org. I'm sure there'll be stuff on there in January. So yeah, so that's answering Al Wishy's question.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, is it placebo where everyone brings little ducks, plastic ducks, and they throw, like
What?
in,
I have no idea
Not
what
making sense.
yeah, there's a band, there's a popular band, and like
I'm
when they come
lost.
to the UK,
Me too.
someone set up if you bring a little rubber ducky and you throw ducks at them. There's also, the King Charles Cinema in the UK, they have a grease night where you go there and they throw plastic cutlery at each other.
Jack, have you had much sleep lately?
Yeah.
How did you? Where does this come from?
It's just weird. Yeah, it's just weird.
David, congratulations on 100,000.
Thank you.
Woo! Congrats.
Well
Oh,
done,
thank
Dan.
you.
Absolutely fantastic.
What are you
I
gonna
know.
be?
He does
What are you gonna be
100,000
punching
and
next?
shows up to this pile of shit.
David, did you get the silver play button yet?
No, they take like forever to send you
Yeah,
that.
I hear that.
You know he
yeah.
hasn't got one because he hasn't fucking rocketed, knifed it.
Yeah.
You can't give him anything. You
No,
know.
I know.
Are
That's
you-
why I can't have
Are you
nice
going
things.
Are you going to rocket punch it?
No, he
Oh,
loves
please do.
I don't know. Fist it. Yeah, no. I don't
You can't say fist it on the girls' night.
know. This is the after show, though, right?
Of course you can.
Yeah.
Of course you can.
This is not the after show yet.
The word fist is gender neutral, Jack. I'll show you one.
That's a point, yeah. Oh, man, that is a point.
Yeah, I
So,
thought I would
David,
stop by and say hi.
Yeah.
Snowy. Like,
We
hi.
banned NJ Tech because we didn't want the girls getting too excited.
We didn't want to get pregnant just by looking at him.
Yeah, I said that to I said that to Painless 360. He laughed and he was just like, he's not that attractive.
An hour and a half of being
I know, that's half more hour than I could take.
And it's about an hour and a half longer than I thought.
Yeah. To be fair, Jack's been actually quite
Yeah.
I've dug my nails into my hands. I've just been like, I just want to scream, like, you know, Zoe's batteries look like dildos and stuff. So bad. They did. That one definitely did look like a sex.
Jack, this is a very reserved Jack. I think it's been good for him. I really do. I think.
That does. Zoe, what are you like?
Okay. One. I did not make this battery. This is Andrew's design. So you have to ask a guy why he made a battery look like a dick.
Yeah.
Why did he put a bell end on the end of it? Look.
It's an aerodynamic cone. It's an aerodynamic.
Oh bollocks!
Now it's off the show.
It would look great.
As we all know on here, quads are meant to be aerodynamically irresponsible.
Yeah, I know, right?
Thank you, Andrew.
Oh my gosh.
So, what have you thought of the stream so far, David?
Wait, what?
What have you thought of the stream so far?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's the best episode so far.
I agree. I think it's the best episode. It's been great.
I never ever watched anything this on topic.
Yeah, I know.
Especially.
It's really put Jack in his place. Like, it's sort of like.
I know. I've got a lot of respect for women. Like, for a start, Vicky Hoover today. I really want to so much, and I feel so bad. I'm so grumpy when I woke up. I've like
Why didn't
shouted
you
at her.
Hoover? Why weren't you hoovering, Jack? It should have been
Because I was in hospital and I feel like I'm dying.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, fair play.
Oh God, I was there all day. They gave me a
Oh dear, do we really want to go in on this?
No,
I know where this is going, and we should end this conversation.
No, they didn't stick anything in my bum hole.
We don't know where. We don't care where it went or anything, Jack. We don't care.
No, they gave me an urgent blood form, and then they went upstairs and gave it to them an hour later. So yeah, I'm fucking loving life right now. Literally.
Well, I'm glad you made it on this evening. You'd have been very grumpy otherwise.
Oh, I can't miss a show because Tony won't talk to me for a month afterwards.
You probably like that though, you little shit.
What if? Yeah. Well, Jack, what if he put the other type of end on it? Oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
David, you need to find that battery.
Quick, something else. Someone say something. But yeah.
David, what are you smashing up next?
I have bought a coconut for you, Tony. It's sitting in the fridge.
Hey, smashing up a coconut. What's gonna win, the coconut or the fist, Frank?
I don't know. There has to be something strong enough.
Are you gonna make vegan rocket fuel?
It actually, it is.
Sugar and.
No, shut up, Tony.
Okay, I won't say it.
Oh, literally, like every other week, terms of agreement and infringements. The emails I have to go through.
Look, can we not?
Are you
say
worried
bomb?
about me, Frank?
Are we not allowed to say bomb while live?
No.
You're not allowed to give out the recipe on air, no, Tony.
Okay.
Oh.
God, no wonder I've got stomach ulcers or.
Before we scare everyone off, thank you, the three of you that are still here with us. So thank you, Zoe, for coming on again. I mean, you were here a year and a half ago, and you've come back. So
too long to come back again. It's a great podcast, and it was a really good discussion tonight. We covered a lot of stuff, and yeah, it was great. Thank you for having me.
I'll be honest with you. We're slightly mad at you because you've got a podcast and you haven't invited any of us on.
Well, unfortunately, my podcast hasn't had a new episode in like 3 months. So
we can help with that.
Yeah.
I think an all-girl podcast like with the girls that have been on tonight on Zoe's.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
So on that note, there
no
is,
men involved whatsoever.
Obviously, she didn't learn from her mistake.
There's actually something on that note. So this is way before the post, but I don't even want to say the name of it, but there's a group of girls getting together, headed by Ani Girl FPV, Noelle. And she invited Julie FPV, myself, and Drone Doll to start a podcast. And so we're going to be starting up a project together here over the winter to start having basically an all-female, podcast talk about it. And it's probably going to evolve into other stuff. I mean, the biggest thing right now is we're kind of growing the women that are interested in doing it. So we know, for example, because we're an international group, we're not going to be able to have all the women on all the time. So the podcast is going to basically be like a rotating amount of 5 girls talking about drones.
Yeah, this is a bit like that. We don't always have the same people on.
No,
right.
I thought it would
and
Jack
it's cool.
David, is this a comment about me having tits again?
Oh, every single time you talk, dude.
What?
That was one of my favorite jokes that Tony ever said about Jack not being sponsored and he's got a pair. That was like, that had me.
I look forward to that podcast to get back on track here.
Well, quickly, before people leave, because we're in danger of scaring people off. Thank you as well, Monica, for coming along and joining us and joining in and not running away.
I don't run away that easily.
Well, apparently, I mean, these guys. And thanks as well, Magda, for coming along. And
thank you too. It's awesome to be here. Seriously, I am still a little bit nervous, so I hope next time I will be much better with
doing
talking
great.
and with everything.
Oh, you did good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
We want to see you racing in England soon.
Yeah, I hope next year.
I just keep out the freestyle
because
stuff.
it's November, so
Racing and freestyle, yeah.
Sure.
Girls, who's your favourite pilot? Because we haven't asked that.
We haven't.
Zoe.
Aww.
Yeah, of course. Female pilot Zoe first. Yeah, of course.
I was also going to say myself, but that would be me. But
Not
like, I think that's a hard question. Like I look up to so many pilots, like guys and girls, especially. Like every pilot has a specialty, whether it be racing or freestyle, and within that, each pilot has something they do remarkably well, whether it be their lines on the track, the way they take of their flow and freestyle, the maneuvers they do, the style of their flying. Like there's something really special about so many of the pilots that I admire, and that's something that I've always taken on is like, I personally see something about a pilot's flying style, and I see that as an opportunity to learn from it. So when you're looking up to pilots, look up to a group of pilots. Don't, I mean, yeah, and especially now, there's some really badass ladies out there. Like I said, like FPV Fly Girl, the FPV Princess. Then we have like Jessica Dronehart, Noelle,
No, I feel like
Julie.
you can't put me up with those because I mean, Noelle is like seriously.
But this is the thing, though, is like I've had this discussion with myself internally. We have to promote all women in the industry because we can't just promote like what we think is good enough.
Yeah.
Because then it'll start promoting like a very elite amount of pilots. Let me pick this up. Back in the Bones Brigade, back in the day when skateboarding was just starting out.
Powell and Peralta. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're going right back to that, right?
Oh my god.
There was a guy named Lance Wolf. There's a guy named Lance.
I get in trouble for this, Zoe, so don't worry, because I've been flying for 26 years. Jack doesn't like when I go back to the past. He hates it.
but the point is that the Bones Brigade had like the top level, and then they had, like Lance. He wasn't the best skateboarder. But he had so much fun with it, and he really showed off having fun with it, that it helped promote the brand. It helped get people into skateboarding.
Yeah.
It showed that every person could do this.
Yeah.
And that's the same kind of thing that has to happen within the female community. Is we have to be able to promote not just the top level pilots, but even the ones that are like super eager to get into it and to learn and to be excited about it. We have to promote
excitement, yeah.
women being excited about it. Like that's like the end of the day, that's really what it's about. So it's not necessarily skill. Skill helps, and it's definitely a big thing that women pilots out there over the next year and so, I think have to step up a bit more, just a little bit in their own ways. To
I think like, especially if you look at the guys' YouTube channels, the most popular ones out there aren't actually the ones that are the top pilots.
That's
exactly.
True.
You've got
That's
like Bruce,
true.
you've got like Bruce Simpson, who's a huge channel. You've got UAV Futures, and then I think probably the only sort of like the biggest pro pilot would be sort of Mr. Steele, but all the other channels are kind of. And I think people like that. They connect with that because they're just they can relate and say, "Oh, I'm at this skill level and I can relate to it." So I think that's fine. I
definitely relate to you more now, Andy, that you speak and don't. I see more than
face.
Your hands. Yeah, you know. Do you reckon? Do you think Schizo's Rodney Mullen?
Say, oh, Rodney Mullen. So that's my personal idol, is like, because he did stuff with freestyle and skating that like I wish.
I've never wanted to kiss a man so hard as Rodney Mullen.
I would agree with you on that.
You know, like, what? No way Zoe would go straight for Rodney Mullen.
I mean, no,
mind blown. Send that into your Saudi thing. Be like, give me Rodney Mullen. I'm straight all day. You haven't got to worry.
Like Rodney,
even your camera's gone fuzzy.
I mean, he did stuff with like with skating that like I see myself and a few other pilots doing with FPV. Doing stuff that's out of the traditional norm within freestyle, and it pushes everything forward, you know. And that's one of the things that we have, those like the different pilot, like the skater that has the vision that other skaters just don't. Like that's, you know, the Rodney Mullen. And then we have like the Lance Wolf, who's an amazing, you know, skater, but when you compare him to like Rodney or Tony Hawk, you know, it's hard for him to hold a candle to them, quote unquote. But when you compare him to like the general skating population, he is really great. Like, you know, he deserves definitely to be competing. But I'm just, my point about him was that he is the kind of person, more so than Tony. It's like a lot of people would love to be Tony Hawk.
No, you can't say Tony. You got to address him by his full title. Because
Tony Hawk.
Yeah, we've got
Mr. Hawk. Can I call him Mr. Hawk now?
Yeah. You can't. You can't just say Tony, because
Lance Mountain. I'm thinking of a different
Tony here will think you're talking about him and bigging him up, and I can't allow that to happen.
Yeah, so the Hawk, I'll just call him the Hawk. You know, a lot of people realize that they can't like get to that level of competition. Like, no matter how hard they do it, it takes a special X factor to be that person, right? And that's. Yeah, I was definitely getting Vec mixed up. That was definitely my problem, Davey Boy and chat. I was thinking of Vec versus Lance Mountain. I'm bad with names. So that's kind of the thing. Like, you have to have an environment that supports everybody, that kind of includes them in the hobby, kind of supports and promotes them in the hobby, and not just the high-level competitors, because realistically, flying an FPV, and this is probably one of my biggest problems, is that FPV inherently is not about racing. Drone racing is one of those things that's been made a popular thing because it gets like attention in the media. It sounds cool and sexy, and there's a lot of money being poured into it from different areas in the industry. And realistically, though, drone racing is just such a small segment of, I just had a machine fall over, a small segment of the whole industry. And I think we kind of gotten so hyper-focused as a community and as an industry that we're forgetting about the wider FPV community that exists beyond it. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, when I got into it, drone racing was not a thing. Like, it was about flying in a field, the freedom that FPV gave you.
That's David territory. That's the same for me. Didn't exist.
Yeah,
I think it's really interesting, the connection that it has with skating, because I only found this out recently because I could never do skateboarding, but all the terminology and sort of...
You look like you should be singing songs about skating. You went out with Avril Lavigne, maybe for lunch.
I wish. No, but like,
Really?
like,
Do you think she's been replaced? Sorry. Here think she's
What?
been replaced by a lookalike, or have I been hanging around Tony for too long?
Yeah. She's a lizard.
Who's been replaced?
Have you never heard this?
No, I haven't.
Frank, do you know what I'm going on about?
I know what you're going.
What I'm trying to
it?
get at, though, and some viewers might not know this, but all of the terms that we hear, ripping, shredding, and when someone says the word spot, like this is a great spot, those are all skateboarding terms, and I didn't realize that. It's really, and if you look at professional skateboarders such as Tony Hawk, Bam Margera, whatever, they all had their own.
No, we don't class him as.
Yes, of course you do. He's a millionaire skateboarder. You have to class him.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, what I'm trying to get at is FPV is following that model because they would release their own boards, and we have people having their own frames. For example, Tony recently released his frame.
Oh no! Stop!
It was a segue, Jack. That's what I was trying to do.
I released the frame to myself.
Tony, I saw on Facebook there was a picture of a frame. It looked like a stretched X, and it said Tony's name on it. What's going on there?
It's just a frame that me and my friend helped me design. I just wanted a simple frame which was easy to build, easy to maintain.
There should be laws against this.
So, Tony, if you want a review of this frame, I'll give you my email address.
Oh my God, I swear to God, I will unsubscribe to you.
It's great. It's got a V on it. What's the V for, Tony?
Oh, what a vegan.
You know
Oh my God.
You know why there's a V?
We may have. I want to ask the girls actually. Do we have any other fellow vegans in the?
It's not just a girl thing, man thing, girl thing. You know.
Of course it's not. But I'm interested.
Yeah, vegan's gender neutral, Andy.
I was gonna say.
I'm not saying it's not. I really respect people who are vegan.
There's a joke here. I was gonna say I like meat.
But so does Tony, but he's vegan.
Well, it's funny because like the in Santa Cruz, especially where I'm from, like it's vegan central. It's a lot of vegans out here. It's like a lot of the restaurants. There's vegan only restaurants where I'm from, and
Sweet. I'm coming.
But yeah,
Please,
but as far as vegan go, I don't know. I mean, I think Angela is vegan, but I don't know.
Cool.
What?
I'm not. I'm sorry. I have to.
Yay! We can hang out.
Look, I don't discriminate about hanging out with you guys. Right, I'm going now.
No.
Rude.
Avril Lavigne, yeah, I think she's been replaced with a clone.
Oh dear, I love Avril Lavigne. I've not heard anything about Avril.
Have you never heard?
I shall not have a bad word said about Avril Lavigne.
And this is the official point where the show goes completely downhill.
Yeah. Usually after about 5 minutes, but you've done well so far.
We have been far too interested in the subject matter and having important things to talk about, which is very rare.
Yeah,
I like talking about something that matters.
Yeah, we feel important then.
Well, that's the back end. And like one last thing, like there's been so much drama and bullshit in the community about such bullshit things, like people blowing up about random things that don't matter. That I try to keep out of that drama. This is the first time, and I'm not trying to start drama, but this is the first time where I felt like I need to say something, and I feel like this is something that makes a real difference. So it's not me just being rah rah rah, flip a table.
You're right.
But most people know that. I mean, if you've been in the FPV community for a while, you know you're not. I mean, you know you won't just post something to post something. You're absolutely very far off just bullshitting and saying something that's not actually really important. So I feel like the real people, the people, not real people, but everyone who knows what you actually really meant with your post also knows what you're saying is very true.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't really, I mean, you shouldn't look at all the other ones because everyone's gonna say things that they might maybe not even mean that way, but you'll get that. You just have to get over it and not look at those anymore.
Yeah.
Keep your head on straight, because I know you do. And just
Well, thank you for that. That means a lot coming from you. And it's, yeah.
Oh my God, White Spy's back.
And just make sure that you don't dive any bridges either, because that's not cool.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's naughty.
Oh man, Mikey Dread, real people are here supporting you, ladies.
They are.
Oh, really?
Yay, we're real people.
real people.
I'm so sorry.
I'm
It's
sure
us
Jack
bunch of twats.
has been cloned though.
Yeah, like I'm so sorry. Out of all the people to support you, it's the idiot from Let's Drone Out. I'm so sorry. So sorry. The most offensive show in the world.
One thing that's interesting is when you sort of, I like what Chad Kappa said when he sort of said, talking about bad comments, comments on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, it's kind of like people's road rage side, in that when you're sat in a car and you're yelling at someone, like they can't, you can hide behind something. But I think the minute that you sort of go on video, and he sort of said if he was getting like a bad comment, he would actually video call them, and that would stop them in their tracks. And I think there's a lot.
I actually did that to a couple people. A few of the people in that chat, they were leaving horrible messages. So I was like, "Hey, let's have a chat." Sideline them, and I called them up through Facebook. You know, like let's have a legit chat about this, because that's the only way we're gonna move forward. This whole
Mr. Pants.
That would have been a great YouTube video. I do that to Jack all the time.
Yeah.
I just imagine it being like a kind of, you start the call, you're like, "Hi, can you read out just what you said? Just say those words."
Yeah.
Actually,
say it to my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's
very few people have a hard time saying it to your face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's sad.
That's what I enjoy though. Like I used to like rip on race flight loads, and it was nothing better than getting my idol Schizo on and Preston, and was like, "So, what's this about this code you've stolen?" You know, and it was just awesome watching the chat just blow up. Do you know what I mean? There's so much pussyfooting in this hobby, and hiding behind.
There's not a lot of pussyfooting about certain things, I have to say.
Yeah, on certain things, but no, like like being that person and being like face to face, and like just enjoying the hobby and like having a laugh with people. Like there's some things that you watch on like the Rotor Riot like forum, and you're just like, what are you guys arguing about? Do you know what I mean? Like what are you? And there's people there just like, do you know what I mean? There's people like wasting their lives like arguing on that.
Yeah, what is the point to do it? Seriously, just
go out and fly.
If you don't like something, just don't comment, and that's it. Or I don't know why we have so much negativity. I don't get it, seriously.
Yep.
I've seen more negativity in this community the last year than I've seen combined beforehand. And that's one thing I really hope that changes going forward, is that the community realizes that's a community, that it's still a small community. It's not like FPV racing or FPV in general, and flying is, this big, wide thing that everyone's doing. I mean, the fact is, I had to find a friend and someone who lives in Mexico, like to be able to really, relate and connect with somebody. I had to go far-reaching, and it still speaks to this day that it's still a really small community.
It is.
And to grow that, we have to be mindful of how we go about ourselves, and how we try to support each other versus tear each other down. Less of the raw burn it down post, and more of the, hey, this is a problem, I have an idea to fix it kind of thing. It's and in general it's compassion. And sadly, I think it's not just this community, but a lot of communities last year have kind of lost their shit, quote unquote. I mean, with a lot of the weird stuff going on in the world, and I know in social media groups like Reddit, Facebook, basically any social media outlet, it's gone crazy over the last year. It's gone to a point where it's really hard for people to feel welcomed in when there's like giant discussions that are really bad about them. So
Carlos is just putting in the chat, I hate negativity, and I hate all the negative people, and I want to kill them, and I hate them, but but in a positive way.
I know.
Carlos did a video like called Hot Topic for a while, which highlighted drama. So
I know.
he stopped it now though. Carlos, and I still accept your proposal.
I see. I rag on Carlos, but he was such a champion on the show that he's like.
Carlos is funny. Did you see
warm
when
to my heart?
he dressed up as Ali? He dressed up as Ali G, and he looked. You would not have known that wasn't Ali G.
No way.
Yeah.
Look it up. Look up Carlos and Ali. He turned up at a race dressed as Ali G, and yeah.
No way. That would be amazing. Oh my god.
He looked fantastic.
Wait, was that some of the posts where because I remember back in the day, like Ali G showed up to a race and people were making like a thing of it. Was that anything related to that?
Yeah, it was.
I thought that was here. I thought that was actually the actor that played. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, that's Carlos. He looks just like him, and he does a cracking Borat impression as well.
He snuck into the media tent of the mini air show and was like shaking the hand of the what was it? The mayor of
Brighton,
mayor of Brighton. Like, hadn't got a clue. Probably thought she met the real Ali G, and like just so weird. Like
he did like the fist bump, and she just shook his fist.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh my god. I was fooled. That was funny.
Oh my god.
I was out flying something yesterday.
What were you flying, David?
Something that has 4 spinny things.
4 spinny, not 3 spinny things.
Traitor!
What are you doing?
Ground pounder.
It's a rocket car. Rocket jump car. But it didn't fly too good.
Where's the wheel gone at the front?
Yeah, and the back and the whole. It's a little bit.
What size rocket were you using on that thing?
That's a. Let's see. It's a G class rocket. I think, or an F class. Yes, an F class. So it has 150 pounds of thrust. It burns for about half a second. And it's pointed straight down. I balanced it vertically and horizontally. I don't know if you say that.
So
but
is
anyway.
it like G class is goddamn that's fast, and F class is fucking hell.
Nice. Yep. It worked pretty good. It flew maybe 50 meters in the air and then landed pretty hard.
Remote control car and flew shouldn't be in the same
It
sentence.
looks like it's in one piece to me, though.
Yeah, it's actually not too bad. Like I have spare parts. I'll go again. This is actually a second attempt.
Have you used that Fox body plate yet? Or is that still...
No, it's still in the box because I haven't broken the other one. I don't know if you can see it now. I probably can't. I milled the 4mm carbon plate to replace it, so I can hold the rocket in.
What's the idea then, David? With it pointing, is it to fly upwards?
Yes. So you jump over an obstacle, like the Batmobile or something.
That's amazing.
It worked so good. My wife was there filming.
Is this the next episode that's coming up?
Probably. Hopefully. Maybe.
How many times a day do you get told you're nuts?
I don't know. I have a filter for it now.
Something definitely wrong with that Swede.
How are you coping with it going dark at like 2 p.m., David?
It's not.
It sucks,
it's not
right?
too good. No.
Yeah.
It literally is like 2 p.m.
Nuts. We're on about 4 o'clock here, and that's I think the worst it gets is about 3 o'clock. But it must be crazy for you there.
Yeah, last year during the month of December, we had 20 minutes of sun hitting the ground.
Oh my
That's
God.
like
It was so bad because it was cloudy and rainy or snowing.
Yeah,
it was horrible.
That's what we get all year here.
No wonder you've gone a bit weird.
No, it started out that way.
Have you found that barn yet? knife
If
and rocket
no
punching.
no one wanted to give me a barn.
I'm not surprised. He probably saw your videos and went, no.
No, it's good. I'm gonna throw the we'll see if I have time tomorrow. I'll probably mount the rocket on a plane and maybe a tricopter. We'll see.
Oh,
Try to
please.
get-
Like Boomcopter. And
Oh,
use
that'd
the
be so
sewing
sweet.
machine foot pedal.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
I love how nonchalant David is. He's like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'll probably just put a rocket on a plane, and that's my day. That's my day done. That is, yeah.
I
That's
love
why I
having
the guy.
tools, man. Oh, it's fantastic.
I've got one of these mini pyro flash, you know, the fountain
Yeah.
things on the TV show, long duration. So this
How
is
long
for
is that?
Andrew. I don't know. We're going to find out.
Oh, nice.
I stole
Okay.
it from Digby Dan.
Is
maybe.
this hashtag ruining the hobby, Jack? Is it?
No, maybe.
Hashtag burning the
Remember.
hobby down.
Hashtag probably going to kill each other.
Hashtag
Oh,
safety first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm constantly like telling David that he's going to cut his knob off. I really like,
So
Dave, please don't.
It's fine. I did some sketch
No, it's
things
not.
yesterday.
Right next to it with a helicopter. It's like, you know, choppy that way, spinny choppy that way. And
I
then you-
just wonder how much David shoots and it can't go online because it's so sketchy.
I have quite a few things. Like it was a long time ago. Tricopter version 2. Me and Chad went out and flew over an oil refinery.
Wow.
Sneaking like guards with guns and things, and we
Was it
snuck
dark?
in.
Was that the dark when it was dark?
Yeah, it was dark, and it's all lit up with these huge lights everywhere. Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. Really good footage. But then they're like, maybe we shouldn't post that.
Yeah. It's like,
So we'll talk about it on the podcast instead.
it's like
Equally legally viable.
a flying spark flying over oil. It's not really.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? Oh, Curry Kitten,
So many
everyone.
Hello,
Curry
guys.
Kitten,
Hey!
Hello, everyone.
He's got a daughter
Hi.
and he's let her FPV.
Wait,
Oh, let's hear about that.
Have you
Well-
never seen it? I remember when it first came out.
Yeah, she's not that into it. You can't force these things. That's the only thing. So we had a good fly around. I was on. We did some indoor stuff on, like, you know, the little toy quads, and then I built her a little 250 just on free cell, and I was on sort of a trainer radio, and she was on her one, so I could just take the control back. But she did sort of one flight of that, and she was all a bit sort of jittery with it. But I took her out not long ago with one of those little. The Bugs 2, I think Andy reviewed that as well. It's a little GPS.
Oh yeah.
It kind of crosses the line between sort of toy drone and a hobby drone, doesn't it? Because it's got a decent GPS hold and return to home. And she had some fun flying that, but she's not. I can't force her into it, unfortunately.
No.
I think it's now becoming uncool because I do it rather than cool because it's on
Yeah,
YouTube. So
yeah.
it's like
Like your
whatever
dad's
Dad
music.
doesn't do.
It's never gonna be cool, is it?
No.
Drone
But
dad.
I've gone the other way now. It's fun to be very uncool, especially when collecting her from school. If you just do some dad dancing in front of all that.
No, oh god, we lost about 20 viewers then. Sorry, Kitten, I've got to start getting you on it.
We're talking about like
Helicopters are
the
like
point,
dancing.
like this over the next year, and this is something that I didn't get a chance to talk about. I think this is a big point, is that FPV in general had a massive surge of interest from a lot of places, from media interest, from some sponsor interest, from like people trying to turn it into drone racing TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
But the inflection point for price for people to get into the hobby hadn't really been there yet. And I've
Yeah, we like
seen,
that. Keeps the riffraff out.
well, yeah, but this
And
is the
also,
biggest.
who fancies David at uni, lads?
Oh.
Sorry, though.
I agree, Zoe. It's an expensive thing to get into, isn't it?
But the thing is, though, is that's changing. So let's say, let's go for example, back when I got into it, you couldn't get a micro FPV setup. Just really didn't exist. And then when you got the first like real micro FPV RTF kit was like the Nano QX like FPV kit, came with a screen and a transmitter, and it cost $400, right? A little micro machine, $400. The following year, the same kind of setup cost about $200. And this year you can get goggles, transmitter, a tiny Whoop clone, plus battery and charger for $65 on Banggood.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, the cost of this has gone down to the same price as a traditional video game. You know, it's gone to the point where you can gift the gift of FPV, where you can buy a complete kit that offers a very decent experience, not a watered down version of, you know, a toy kit, but a hobby level experience to the general consumer. And because of that, we're finally at the point in time where we can finally see whether or not the market will really grab onto it properly, because it's at that price point, inflection point, where we can give FPV as a stocking stuffer gift to basically anybody. I mean, I've bought video games for my friends in the past. That was a routine gift. This year, I'm actually going to be able to buy my friends full FPV setups to gift out to people that I think might find it enjoyable.
Yeah.
And that's something that would have been a really big cost sink to do like just a year ago.
That would be so awesome. Imagine if you're a kid and you got that, man.
Yes.
Zoe would be the best auntie in the world.
Like, but that's the thing. It's like that's over the next year. We're finally at that point where FPV has a chance to go mainstream as far as the general public goes. I mean, toy drones have gone mainstream, but a proper FPV experience still has been a little bit out of reach of the average consumer.
So I think that kit that you're talking about is the Ishin E013, which is basically a tiny Whoop. It costs $65. You get FPV goggles, transmitter, tiny Whoop style aircraft. I reviewed it. I really liked it. If anyone's wondering what is that package,
I've personally flown them. It's a great
in the chat.
So Jack, when are you doing your review on your review set?
No, I'm not talking about that. Yeah, it might be some weirdo. No,
there's definitely some weirdo, but go on, Jack.
No, I don't want to talk about it. No,
we want
I'm not
you to talk about it because I like it when you're all awkward and flustered.
No, like some weirdo probably knows where I live now.
Well, I do,
yeah.
That's what you do.
No, oh God, I'm on a list because of you somewhere.
So going back to what Zoe was saying about the quads getting really cheap, I mean, we've got a listener, Phil Parslow, who's been on our Facebook page and messaging us there and talking about his kind of what he's going through at the moment, catching up on all the old podcast episodes. And he's talking about how he's on a really, really tight budget putting together a proper setup, and he's got away with it for, I think it was under under $100.
Yep,
so
it's totally possible. I've seen setups.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
what do you do? Make it out of a potato?
No, that's the funny thing is like it's the experience that you can get for the price has actually gotten really cheap. And that's the point. It's like you can't buy a video game system right now for $100. Like FPV is now at that point.
I can buy a Mega Drive for £30.
I meant modern system. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
The problem is Jack won't accept anything that doesn't run KISS. You see, so that's where he's confused. But there are systems out there. There are systems out there that are much cheaper and open source that you can.
Yeah, right for the stealing of Raceflight. Yeah, I've got all about that.
On that note, Raceflight, like I'm a big believer in open source, and seeing that happen within the community was kind of hurtful.
It's a good job Preston's not on here then, because he has different views.
Preston listens, and I get the occasional message of your He's just like, literally, he tolerates me.
I can understand where Preston. I can understand where Preston comes from, because a lot of money.
Sorry.
A lot of money gets lost with the open source thing. That's why if you buy something from Bando, it's flashed with beta flight because it's open source and they can just put it on there. But you know, I think when people like Preston trying to make money out of the system, it's very difficult with how cheap stuff is from China and things like that. So I see
There's
where
a difference
Preston's
between
coming
trying
from.
to make money and close sourcing stuff. You
Mm.
know, I mean, what Raceflight did was a little different than just like driving an open source product. Like Betaflight, they had their own board. It was open source based board. Naze like Timecop back in the day, like that was the whole thing with Timecop is he wanted a better board, so he made a better board and he open sourced the software.
So what's your particular sort of beef with Raceflight?
Just the potential close sourcing and using open source code within a closed source project and making money from it, and not contributing back to the larger scene in general.
Because I think the argument was that the code had been written by the open source community. They'd put that effort in to that code on the basis that everyone's going to benefit from it and people are going to feed back into that. So it's kind of everyone's doing some work, but everyone gets something out of it. And then the question, I mean, I think Preston is arguing that he didn't take this code, but you know, that's kind of something that's contentious. And then whether, you know, if you did take that code and then started making a closed source project from that open source code that people have put time into, then that's kind of a dick move.
Right.
So that's the debate.
And I've been a part of the open source community long before I was a part of the drone community. So that, to me, I saw that kind of movement, and I don't know. I think they'll learn from it. I think it's definitely something I'm glad the community had a conversation about, because it was something that we need to have a conversation about. And it's the biggest thing though right now, and one of the biggest issues I think the industry has is that innovation is cloned. Innovators have a hard time making any kind of their money back off of creating the innovations, because as soon as it's on the market, 5 other people are able to copy the idea and essentially saturate the market faster than your product can get out onto the market. So unless you have a truly new patentable design that has no, like, it doesn't completely different. You have to do something basically completely different than industry standards in order to have it not copied outright.
Yeah, and then you have to start from the beginning again. There's no standing on the shoulders of giants.
Right. So that's kind of like KISS. KISS still hasn't really been copied, but it's a closed source project, and it's still, that's another thing with KISS hardware. And there's a whole open source KISS thing debate. I use open source hardware and I use closed source hardware. KISS is interesting in the fact that a lot of their closed source developments, they still give back to the community, like D-Shot. That was one of the features originally, I believe, developed in-house with them. And they saw D-Shot.
Sorry, no. I found out. I talked to Dominic Clifton, and it was, get this, it was originally, you know, the LED, addressable LED?
Yeah.
That it was originally that code, and they took part of that and made D-Shot. So it was, because it was open sourced.
Right.
KISS took that open source, played with it, and was like, oh, we can turn this into D-Shot. Like, they looked at it and was like, this is what we're trying to do. We'll use some of that. And then they kept it open source.
That's what I'm saying, is that they kept that part of it open source. Yeah,
Preston won't ever leave multi-shot because, it works only on his. He doesn't even give you the option to use Tony, does it give you the option to use D-Shot or anything? Or have you got to use multi?
I think when Preston was on, he was talking about the future developments and changing like the whole protocol completely. And I think when we asked him about it then, he said it was just going to leave it as it is until he's got all these other bits of hardware running on a completely different bus system.
Sorry.
Sorry, but I have to go.
Yeah, it's time to go to bed.
Yeah, I think it is about time to call it.
It's time for people to go.
Everyone was just waiting for someone to bring it up.
I'm in agony.
No, it's not like that. You know, like, I want to go. I need to go because I wasn't sleeping
everyone
enough,
needs to go.
and I'm like zombie.
Look, we can keep the stream running, but it will just turn into Curry Kitten berating David for not answering an email.
It's because I just
ago.
arrived, isn't it? And everybody wants to leave now.
No. No, if you comment earlier, I'll let you in.
I wasn't here earlier.
I know.
Well, that's why you're not in earlier, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for coming on. I mean, there's a huge list of names down at the bottom now. Yeah. I mean, we've said kind of thank you for coming on. So I think I will just say thank you everyone that's watching for carrying on watching, and see you next week. And keep following these guys. I put all the links in the description so you can sub them and support them. And yeah,
sub to them now. Click on their little girls right in the chat so people can click the 3 buttons and just say thank you in the chat, and then those guys can click the 3 buttons and then go to your channel and you can get subscribers.
Yeah.
And click on the bell icons. Or click on the icon that vaguely resembles the front of Zoe's battery.
Yeah, thank you for everyone for coming on. Thank you everyone for watching. It's been Let's Drone Out, and hopefully see you again soon.